Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Wise and Well, the place where we talk about living your best life, especially as we embrace our golden years. Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sipping your morning coffee, and you catch yourself daydreaming about what life could be like if you weren't rushing off to work every day. Maybe you imagine long walks in the park, picking up that hobby you've always wanted to try, or just having the time to enjoy a quiet afternoon with a good book. But then, that little voice creeps in. The one that says, "Am I really ready to retire? Can I afford it? What if I'm making a mistake?" If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. I've been there too, and so have so many of you watching right now. Today, we're diving into something really important for those of us over 60. The signs that maybe, just maybe, it's time to retire earlier than you think. Retirement isn't just about hitting a certain age or having a magic number in your bank account. It's about listening to your heart, your body, and your life, and noticing the clues that it's time to step into a new chapter. I'm going to walk you through 8 signs that might be telling you it's time to retire sooner rather than later. These are things I've seen in my own life, in the lives of friends, and in the stories you've shared with me in the comments. So, grab a cozy spot, maybe a cup of tea, and let's have a heart-to-heart about what it means to retire at the right time for you. First, let's talk about how you're feeling physically. As we get older, our bodies start sending us little signals, sometimes not so little ones, that they need a break. Maybe you're waking up with aches and pains that didn't used to be there, or you're finding it harder to bounce back after a long day at work. I remember chatting with my friend Susan, who's 62. She worked as a nurse for nearly 40 years, and she loved her job. But she started noticing that her knees were screaming after every shift, and she was so exhausted by the end of the week that she'd spend her days off just recovering. She told me, "I kept thinking I had to push through until 65, but my body was begging me to slow down." If you're feeling physically drained, if your job is taking a toll on your health, whether it's stress, long hours, or physical demands, that's a big sign. Retirement could give you the chance to focus on feeling good again, whether that's through gentle exercise, better sleep, or just giving your body the rest it deserves. Ask yourself, is your job making it harder to take care of your health? If the answer is yes, it might be time to think about retiring sooner. Now, let's shift to something we don't always talk about openly: your mental and emotional energy. Work can be fulfilling, but it can also wear you down in ways you don't notice until it's overwhelming. Maybe you're feeling irritable or short-tempered at work, or you're dreading Monday mornings in a way you never used to. I think of my neighbor Tom, who was a high school teacher until he was 61. He loved teaching, but over time, the constant demands, grading papers, managing classroom dynamics, keeping up with new technology, started to feel like a heavy weight on his shoulders. He told me he felt like he was just going through the motions, and the spark he used to have for his job was gone. If you're finding that work is draining your joy, or if you're feeling burned out, that's a signal. Retirement doesn't mean giving up purpose. It can mean finding new ways to feel energized, whether that's volunteering, spending time with grandkids, or finally tackling that garden project you've been dreaming about. So, take a moment to check in with yourself. Are you still excited about your work, or is it starting to feel like a burden? Speaking of burdens, let's talk about financial stress, because I know that's on a lot of our minds when we think about retirement. But here's something to consider. If you're constantly worrying about money because of your job, that might be a sign to retire earlier. Maybe your job isn't paying what it used to, or the cost of commuting, work clothes, or other expenses is eating into your savings more than you'd like. I met a lovely woman named Linda at a community event last year. She was 64 and working in retail, but the long hours on her feet and the unpredictable schedule were barely worth the paycheck. She sat down with a financial advisor and realized that by retiring early, cutting some expenses, and tapping into her savings a bit sooner, she could actually reduce her stress and live more comfortably. Now, I'm not saying everyone can retire tomorrow, but if your job is costing you more than it's giving, whether that's in dollars or peace of mind, it's worth looking at your numbers. Could retiring early, even if it means a simpler lifestyle, give you more freedom? That's something to think about. Another sign to watch for is how your work is affecting your relationships. Our loved ones, spouses, kids, grandkids, friends, they're the heart of our lives, especially as we get older. But if your job is keeping you from spending time with them, that's a red flag. I think of my cousin Robert, who was a manager at a logistics company until he was 63. He was always working late, missing family dinners, and even skipping his granddaughter's soccer games. One day, his wife sat him down and said, "Rob, we're not getting any younger. I want us to have time together while we're still healthy." That was a wake-up call for him. He retired a year earlier than planned, and now he and his wife are taking dance lessons together, something they never had time for before. If your job is pulling you away from the people who matter most, or if you're missing out on moments you can't get back, that's a sign. Retirement could open the door to rebuilding those connections and making memories that last. Now, let's talk about something a little more personal, your sense of purpose. For so many of us, our careers have been a big part of who we are. But sometimes you start to feel like your job isn't aligning with what matters to you anymore. Maybe you're dreaming about spending your days doing something completely different, like painting, volunteering at your church, or even starting a little side hustle that lights you up. I remember talking to a viewer named Margaret who wrote to me after one of our videos. She was 66 and had worked in an office job for years. But deep down, she wanted to spend her time teaching piano to kids in her neighborhood. She kept putting off retirement because she thought she needed the steady paycheck, but she realized her job was holding her back from what truly made her happy. If you're feeling that tug, like there's something else you're meant to do, something that excites you more than your current job, that's a sign. Retirement can be the doorway to rediscovering your passion and purpose. Another thing to consider is how much your job is demanding of your time and energy compared to what you're getting out of it. Sometimes we stay in jobs out of habit or because we feel like we should. But if you're giving more than you're getting back, that's worth paying attention to. I think of my old friend George, who was a consultant well into his 60s. He was good at his job, but the constant travel and long hours started to feel pointless. He'd come home exhausted, with no energy left for the things he loved, like fishing or spending time with his dog. One day, he did the math and realized he was working harder than ever for less reward, both financially and emotionally. He retired at 62, and now he's out on the lake almost every weekend, happier than I've ever seen him. If your job feels like it's taking more than it's giving, that's a sign it might be time to step away and reclaim your time. Let's also think about your health in a broader sense. Not just physical, but how your lifestyle is holding up. Maybe you're noticing that you're not eating as well as you'd like because you're too tired to cook after work. Or maybe you're skipping doctor's appointments because your schedule is too packed. I'll never forget a story from one of our viewers, Carol, who was 61 and working as a bank teller. She loved her customers, but the stress of the job meant she was grabbing fast food on her breaks and missing her annual checkups. After a health scare, she decided to retire early, and she told me it was the best decision she ever made. She's now walking every morning, cooking healthy meals, and even joined a yoga class. If your job is making it hard to take care of yourself, whether it's eating right, exercising, or just having time to relax, that's a sign. Retirement could give you the space to prioritize your health in a way that feels good. Finally, let's talk about that gut feeling. The one that's been whispering to you maybe for a while now. Deep down, you might already know it's time to retire, even if you're not ready to admit it out loud. Maybe you're daydreaming about what life could be like without the daily grind, or you're counting down the days until your next vacation. That feeling isn't something to ignore. I remember when I was thinking about stepping back from my own career. I kept telling myself I'd wait just one more year, but every time I thought about retiring, I felt this sense of relief, like a weight lifting off my chest. If you're getting that same feeling, if the idea of retiring early makes you feel lighter, freer, or even a little excited, that's a powerful sign. Trust your instincts. They've gotten you this far in life, haven't they? So, as we wrap up this conversation, let's think about what we've talked about. Your body might be telling you it needs a break. Your heart might be saying you're ready for more joy and less stress. Your bank account might be hinting that you can make it work with a simpler lifestyle. Your loved ones might be waiting for more of your time. Your passions might be calling you to something new. Your job might be taking more than it's giving. Your health might be asking for more care. And that quiet voice inside you might be saying, it's time. Retirement isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself permission to live life on your terms, to embrace the years ahead with energy, purpose, and joy. I hope this has given you some things to think about, maybe even a little nudge to start planning your next steps. If any of these signs resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Share your story. What's making you think about retiring early, or what's holding you back? Your experiences inspire others in our Wise and Well community, and I read every single comment. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more people just like you. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss our next chat. Here at Wise and Well, we're all about living wisely and living well, and I'm so grateful to have you here with me. Until next time, take care of yourself, listen to your heart, and let's keep embracing these beautiful years together.